Oh, don't you want to go to that gospel feast, that promised land, where all is peace?
So I have this little item in here called Pastoral Reflection on Communicating in Crisis. And this is something that I put together out of just being in the midst of the whirlwind of people in need and in distress. And I hope this will be helpful. I have shared it in multiple places. And it's to help us figure out how to be more aware than the fire hose of information that's coming at us. Just to think about, like, how will I personally manage with my close team of people, friend groups, family groups, maybe within the church. How am I going to share this information? Because raise your hand if you're experiencing a deluge through text, email, social media of, oh my God, this just happened. Oh my God. Oh my God. Did you see this? Did you see this? Is that happening for anybody else? Okay, then this is maybe worth sharing. Let's think about these guidelines for our own sharing. Why do I need to share this right now? Here are some good reasons you might want to share something immediately. Those are, there's an immediate danger, and it's a time to make an immediate action somewhere you can get to physically. You assume that the person you are contacting doesn't know something important that they need to know, but you might want to check first, because that's an anxiety respect technique. Hi, I thought you might want to know this. Were you aware of general topic? If they say, yep, that's all, that's fine. Here's another really valid reason you might want to share something, and you need to be honest about it, because you need comfort, presence, or prayer. If so, ask. This is distressing me. Do you have a moment to breathe with me? Because that is what we are here for in spiritual community. And that's what I'm especially here for. Ask directly for what you need. I just need 5 minutes to deal with what I've just found out. Strategize with your groups how to share information so that there is discretion for participants about what is being shared. In other words, they get to say, I don't ever want to see images. That might be a boundary that they need to be able to set up. Or I need to be able to mute this channel without you guys judging me or thinking I don't care. And there needs to be a space for that. Please consider sharing information on safe and encrypted platforms, that they never contain incriminating information about anybody or jokes that could get them in trouble. Not even joking. We have seen the FBI come for people who have made joking comments. Be careful. Hi, live stream. Hi, Facebook. We see you censoring this live stream. That's just something I also want to say. That's been happening. We've had our live stream censored, and we've had our church posts censored. Let's name that. Please consider what you are asking when you ask busy people or community leaders or organizers to research for you. Hey, what's going on? You can probably do some of that on your own by going to their websites or doing a little bit of a deep dive. Please do your own research as best you can to begin with. When you, and I know I just got a little off the when's a good time to share, so that you heard that. Another point about communicating. The church or this should do that. As far as speaking for the church, the members and friends within the community are the church. You are the church. If you have a program idea or a need or you want to organize something, please let us know how to support you because, again, it doesn't happen without a certain amount of interest from within the community. And there are all kinds of things that we are already doing and engaged with and connected to. You might want to get connected to something that's already happened. So that's something you need to find out, that everybody needs to find out. There's more, but that's, I think, enough to start with. Yeah? Okay. And I need you to breathe with me right now for a moment.
Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Hatred paralyzes life. Love releases it. Hate confuses life. Love harmonizes it. Hatred darkens life, and love illuminates it. I've decided to stick to love. Hate is too great a burden to bear.
The St. Mary's River flows as if nothing has happened. I watch it with my coffee, afraid and sad, as are we all. So many ones to hate, and I, cursed with long memory, cursed with the desire to understand, have never been good at hating. Lucille Clifton.
I imagine one of the reasons people cling to their hate so stubbornly is because they sense, once hate is gone, they will be forced to deal with pain. James Baldwin.
I got a message through social media from someone I knew in childhood. He lived on my street, and we took the same bus to school through elementary school. The message said something like, "Hi, Vicki, how are you doing? It seems like you've turned out well, or, life is going well for you, glad to see it." And my first thought was to type back, "Why are you contacting me? I hate you." Oh, I did hate Andy. He was a vicious child who bullied me, calling me the worst anti-Semitic names that I won't repeat here, putting a swastika on my locker in high school, throwing a sharpened pencil through a bouquet of balloons I got on my birthday, spitting from the bus on a construction crew that we passed by, and that caused the bus to pause. He practices law in Quincy now. Just seeing his name made my face burn and my temperature go up and my heart rate rise. So I went to my prayer chair and I checked in with myself. Whoa, this is a surprise. What is this emotion? Do I need something? And if so, what? And I decided I need a couple of minutes to take a walk. And so I did that. And as I walked, I checked in on the health of my reaction. Was it fair? Was it true? And did I need to do anything about it? I decided that my reaction was fair, given what had happened between me and this guy in the far past, and that it was kind of true, but only kind of, because I realized I don't have a strong enough bond with Andy to hate him anymore. And I decided also, okay, I don't need to do anything because trouble might come that way, and also because crafting a response is going to have to take emotional bandwidth and time that I don't feel like I'm required to give. Just coming to that conclusion was somewhat demanding, and it reminded me of how strong a bond rage and hatred can create between people. Hatred is a cage. Sometimes love and understanding can open that cage. Sometimes time just opens the door. But sometimes a part of us can remain locked away in that cage. If Andy was getting in touch to apologize, that would have been great, but I wish he had said so right away. And because he didn't, I couldn't trust that he even remembered his behavior. I don't know, how could he not? But some people have a real talent for blocking out their past acts or their current acts or blaming others for it. I was not going to be the one to start the conversation. When the subject of hatred comes up, well-behaved people who have learned what they're supposed to say, to the extent that they often do not know how they honestly feel. Okay, that didn't make any sense. When the subject of hatred comes up, well-behaved people have learned that they're supposed to say something like, well, hate is a very strong word. And we actually start saying this to our children very young. We don't say hate in this family. Hate is a very strong word. And those are both true statements. I mean, I have no argument at all with the first. Hate is a very strong word. And and every parent, rather, and guardian has the right within your family and your household to say what words we will or will not use in this setting. But hatred is not easily waved away, and I don't think it should or can be avoided entirely. It's a reality, and children need to know that, and adults need to face it. We wish this wasn't so, but it is. And the inclination towards hatred is within all of us. The father of American Unitarianism, William Ellery Channing, said that our true religion consists in growing in likeness to the Supreme Being. This is in the mid-1800s, he says this. And at that time, the divine nature was being argued to be loving and benevolent and akin to the best version of parental love ever enacted upon the earth. In subsequent decades and centuries, the question of the nature of God has continued to be debated. It probably always will be. There are believers, there are non-believers. The question of how does a loving God permit all of this remains, and so forth. But Unitarians and Universalists have both, for centuries, focused on the goodness and loving nature of God, and also on the potential for all of God's people to act in that image. And they have believed and preached that humanity has been created in this image to be loving and good. Again, I have no argument with that. That is a foundation of my own faith. But this has also led to some measure of denial, avoidance, or excuses for hatred, as we have continued to focus on understanding and continuing to hope for, the better angels of our natures to prevail. This has left us and other religious liberals on rather shaky legs in acknowledging and confronting evil and hatred. Hatred is having a big moment right now. It's almost a winter fashion. Watching its emergence and bold expression, I am left fairly dumbstruck, although not surprised. Here is one example among many in recent days. This was big news. Bishop Marion Budde, the Episcopal bishop in Washington, D.C., gave a very lovely and straightforward gospel message at the National Prayer Service right after the inauguration. In that sermon, the bishop addressed top officials and asked them to have mercy on their constituents. Every word out of Bishop Budde's mouth was directly from Jesus' teachings, delivered in the mildest of tones to supposedly Christian leaders. The House of Representatives, in response, promptly drafted a resolution condemning Bishop Budde, calling her sermon, I quote, a display of political activism, and condemning its, quote, distorted message. The conservative news outlets called her gentle sermon a rant and subjected her to a barrage of insults and name-calling. I hope she's safe. Getting right to the subject at hand, a man named Ben Garrett, who is a deacon in his church, posted this: "Do not commit the sin of empathy. This snake," referring to Budde, "is God's enemy and yours too. She hates God and his people. You need to properly hate in response." It's okay to call out because it hurts. Is there a way to properly hate? No. No. And not because hatred is never justified, but because our respected prophets have instructed us and taught us that hate is like setting your own house on fire and expecting someone else's to burn to the ground. We know better. We know to check that inclination. We know to look at it and to deal with it. This guy's version of Christianity is completely unrecognizable to Jesus, but that doesn't stop him and those like him from claiming to be the righteous ones among, us blasphemers and demonic people. Whether or not those they accuse of destroying our godly nation are religious or not isn't the point. We all get lumped in together. It's simply important for all of us on the receiving end of these spittle-strewn condemnations to know that these people think that their worldview is grounded in a legitimate religious position. For 1,000 reasons, this position is not religious and it's not valid. Certainly not it's just not valid. And you know that. I don't think there's much need to argue it with anyone, as those who are fully in the grips of this kind of belief are lost to religious zealotry. Leave them where Jesus flung them and save your energy. And that quote is one that the writer Anne Lamott picked up from a black church member in her church. Leave them where Jesus flung them, honey. Hatred is powerful, it's intense, and its fire may illuminate important truths, but it is undeniably dangerous and does equal harm to the one hating as to the object of their hatred. Hence Martin Luther King's comment, "I have decided to stick to love. Hate is too great a burden to bear." He's absolutely right. In every sense, spiritual, emotional, physical. Hatred will chew you up. I wish us to develop the strength to see and face hatred and not try to explain it or excuse it, because we don't have the time for that. And every effort to analyze or investigate hatred and figure it out, why do they hate me, and so forth, is a theft of our good time. James Baldwin said, "We are capable of bearing a great burden once we discover that the burden is reality and arrive where reality is." It can be demoralizing and frightening to know that we are being spoken of with contempt and attacked as individuals, maybe as UUs, perhaps as Americans, perhaps as people of a certain race, nationality, sexual orientation, or gender. It's important in those moments and in those seasons to gather support around, to keep good company, to nourish one another with food, song, laughter, rebellion, beauty, creativity, the solace of nature, and to bar the door of the soul against incursions of those vile sentiments and ideas being lobbed at the windows and doors of our psyches. In the name of God, the angels, the ancestors, the guardians of earth, air, fire, and water, this hatred shall not have purchase on your spirit. The energy that hatred generates is exceedingly dangerous when organized. But if we are to resist and survive and advocate for ourselves and others, we must invoke that prayer or another prayer of protection around us regularly, my friends, so that the hatred cannot erode our hearts and undermine our confidence. And I remind you that confidence is con with fide, faith, which is exactly what the opponent wishes. Their hearts are eroded. They operate on fear and out of their shadow. They want company in their tormented condition, and we will not provide it. When love prevails on heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? I have a few practices and teachings that I hope will help you in standing with grace, pride, and self-regard in the face of hatred whenever it comes up around you. First, remember that we're all capable of hating, and that it's likely that we all harbor warm and active hatreds deep within ourselves. Any monster whom I behold expressing hatred towards me and mine, I have to acknowledge, I can also be that monster, but I don't want to be, and I make effort to avoid becoming one, as I find hateful people to be boring and pathetic. They're acting out of their unhealed, unowned parts of themselves. Boring. Heal. Do your work. Perhaps you can find within yourselves an equally dismissive attitude that helps you brush off animosity. Second, hatred is a form of intimacy. You may have noticed that when you've hated someone, they've taken up residence in your thoughts, your sleeping dreams, and your waking fantasies. They get a lot of airplay. And that's how it is for the ones hating you or me, too. We live rent-free in their heads. They're obsessed with what they think we are, what we do, how we supposedly threaten their perfect world. I mean, knock yourself out, I guess, but I don't want to be there. It's just bizarre and sad. There are many psychological and developmental and sociological reasons for that, but you don't have to spend a moment thinking about it, nor should you bother. I'm telling that to myself. I'm tired of trying to analyze it. Know that the relationship is one-sided, and pray that the universe will use that fiery energy for other purposes. I like to imagine it coming at those I love in the world that I love in a sort of fireball. And then I don't know if this is like Xena the Warrior or something, but like you just go, boom. Visualizations really help us shape our inner lives. I just go, God, use it to the good. There's plenty to do focusing on those you love and care about and those with whom you share common values. Beyond that, maybe, we hope, some opportunities to build relationships between those who have significant differences in opinion, belief, priorities, and values, but who are not entirely lost to pure hatred. We want our energy for opportunities like that because there are always going to be some. Those who are deeply invested in hatred as their primary unifying principle and their bonding method are lost. They're lost souls. And they may eventually experience a conversion. I hope that for them. I pray that God will work in their hearts through human beings to lead them out of the hell that they've made for themselves and others. Sure, but that's God's business. I have other things to focus on. We arrive at reality. We arrive at and see it and assess it, but we can also shape it. We will continue to shape it together. And finally, we remember this: where hostility is present and hatred, so ever is there love and regard of friends and allies, not only known, but yet to be known, and also present among the ancestors whose very hope you may be the culmination of. Together, past and present, here and at a distance, we will also generate a fire that warms and does not burn.